I'm going to hit record. It is now recording. So first of all, welcome. We are so honored to have each of you here today, just to be a part of this sharing in which we're doing from HP, the best place to work and the best place to be. So today we're going to talk about building your career plan and what that means and what the experiences of each of us has been as we have journeyed throughout our individual careers. So just want to do a couple of shout outs. Let's get people hyped in the chat box. So we want to know, which region are you representing? If you could put it in the chat, region 1, region 2, but 2 hype, and that was 3's house. Whether you're in region 4, region 5, or region 6, we want to see where y'all representing. I actually represent 2. I'll tell y'all about that later though, but so you know. All right, we see 5 solid. All right, region 3, region 1.
They repping today. I see.
I see. That's what I miss, I think, about not doing this in person, is having that the call, the regional call at the beginning of each general session. I miss that energy and that excitement that goes along with that. All right, so we appreciate all of you who are here and have chosen to attend our session today. We also want to do a quick reminder. We want you to be sure to stop by and be a part of our HP booth, as we'll be there in the career fair on Thursday and Friday. And we are located in Exhibit Hall A, Platinum Hall 3. So check out our booth, come see what job requisitions we have, come meet. We have over 80 HP diversity ambassadors that will be participating Thursday and Friday in our career fair booth. And we would love to meet with each and every one of you. So we are excited. So panelists, if you want to come on video so everyone can see your lovely faces, we're going to do a quick round of introductions and then jump into some questions. So everyone can give their name, what they do, where they're located, also your major in college, and your connection to NSBE. So I can go first. So Tiffany Grant King. I'm a global DE&I program manager at HP based out of Palo Alto, but I live in Oakland, California. My major in undergrad and graduate school was mechanical engineering. And so that's my connection to region 3 and region 6. And my relationship or connection to NSBE actually started back in 1997. So it's been a long journey with NSBE.
Sure, I'll go next. So hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Archangel. I serve as an engineering program manager / tech marketing engineer specialist here in Boise, Idaho. I'm originally from Stockton, California. I majored in electrical engineering from the University of San Diego State. And yeah, tied to Region 6, 6th house. You already know what it is. And I'm happy to be here.
I'll go next. My name is Terry Stringer. I am the head of the ethics office here at HP. I'm actually in Region 5 and just became a member of NSBE. However, I did have a lot of previous experience with NSBE. Since I'm here in Houston, I worked very closely with both the professional and the collegiate chapter here through my work with the American Association Blacks in Energy. We did a lot of co-work, especially around scholarships and STEM education. And I've been with HP for 3.5 years. Oh, forgot my major. It was business.
Awesome.
I can go next. My name is Ngozi Lawanson, and I am responsible for 2 sustainability programs at HP. The first is energy efficiency leadership for our computers and displays, and the second is recycled materials implementation and innovation. I work out of the Vancouver office, but I'm based in Portland, but I'm from Houston, Texas, and I was also involved with NSBE when I was in undergrad at the University of Texas in Austin.
And of course, I'll go last, but not least, of course, right? My name is Joel Steffen. I am a IT senior manager here at HP. Have been with HP now going on, I think 11 years. From Brooklyn, New York, but based in Houston, Texas right now, which again now is my affiliation with NSBE would be Region 5, associated with that region. I've also always been an advocate of NSBE, but never necessarily part of the family, if you will. And so now I'm getting myself more integrated into all of that. And so happy to be here. Oh, as far as my major as well, I almost forgot, Terry, like you, business with a finance focus, accounting.
Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome, Joel, to the NSBE family, and Terry. So we're excited to have everyone here. And as you all can see, we're from everywhere. So I see you get some shout outs in the chat, Joel, from being from Brooklyn. So that is exciting. So behind me, if you all can see my screen share, it's where I'm from, Sumter, South Carolina. It's the country mile from the road to our house. And my journey, that journey where I grew up, where I lived for a lot of my life, it has been an awesome journey. Can you share something that reminds you of the journey that you were on from back home, whether it's Brooklyn, whether it's Houston, whether it's Milwaukee? What's that one thing that reminds you of home and that keeps you going from day to day?
I'll start that one. Although I have to say that, I'm from Wisconsin, Milwaukee, to be specific. And I moved to Texas many years ago. One of the reasons was, besides moving here for my husband's job, was to get away from cold weather. So imagine my surprise, about a month ago, Mequon, yep, I know it well. My brother actually has a house there still. But imagine my surprise when we got a snowstorm, below freezing, way below freezing temperatures here in Houston. And of course, we were not prepared, and you all know the story. So for all of you young engineers out there, there could be some opportunities if you can solve some solutions to keep us warm year round here in Texas.
Yeah, I'll go next, Tiffany. I think one of the reminders I'm always around is the word motivate. Sometimes I've been listening to music, and that's one of the biggest things, or even if it's flutter, because being from where I'm from, where we operate, one of the biggest ports inland, just really kind of understanding that my city wasn't always reflected in a positive point of view. And it was one of those things where I want to defy those stigmas, those stereotypes that anyone out of Stockton was, trouble. And so it really kind of kept me moving forward, just to show that, hey, there's positives that come from the city. Hey, there's opportunities to give back, to grow. As Terry mentioned, to kind of be someone who resolves problems and, pave a way for someone moving forward.
I can go next. I think for me, I'm from Houston. I don't know if this is something really tied to Houston, but I am Nigerian, or my dad is Nigerian, and Houston's really diverse. And I've always been able to benefit from having really good food, especially from my dad's side of the family. Here in Portland, the food is a little bit different, but I think no matter where I've been, something that's really driven me forward is plantain, because it's good and it gives you strength, and it makes me think about my family and wanting to make my family proud. Yeah.
And I agree with that, Ngozi, and that's exactly where I was going with mine, for the diversity and all the food that you get, all the authentic food you get in New York, right? So that's something that I'm always.
I didn't know you were going to say New York there, Joel. I thought you were going to talk about Houston, but okay.
When I eat in Houston, I'm thinking about all the authentic food in New York that I can
We got
get,
authentic food in Houston.
I just
too.
want to say,
We do.
Cali has the best Mexican food. I don't want to hear nobody else compare it.
Who?
California. Just
No.
New York
I
does
don't know.
not
We got
really have great
Tex-Mex.
Mexican food, but as far as all of the Caribbean type of food that you could get over there, oh my gosh.
Now that is true.
And the
You
New
got
York
that right.
pizza, Chinatown, Little
Y'all
Italy.
making everybody hungry. I'm
I
not
know.
sure.
I'm
We
sorry.
won't talk
But
about
that was
But let's say this. So awesome. Thank you for each of you sharing your responses to that question. Next thought is, Did you think you would end up where you are today? Did you think you would end up at HP? And why you say no, Kevin?
You know, like I said, I know a lot of people could kind of relate being from like a low income area or being from an area where, you know, it's not so positive. You know, oftentimes people paint your path before you can even walk on it. So I kind of lived in the shadows of my father, my uncles, and those people where it was like, hey, you're going to be a ball player. We go see you in the NFL. And I'm like, well, you know, I consider myself to be smart. Can I, you know, not only be a great athlete, but a great student? And so it was really not until my junior year of high school playing football where I really buckled down and say, you know, hey, my body is right, but my mind has to be even greater. And that's going to carry me further in life. So when I saw like all the different things that surrounded me, you know, it was either ball player, it was either you're going to be behind bars, you were going to do warehouse jobs, different things of the sort. So when I looked at where I started to where I am now, I would not have imagined that. And it wasn't until we got in San Diego State where I got involved in different leadership opportunities. I got involved with NSBE, the African Student Union, my fraternity, and those different things that kind of show me there's a bigger aspect to life where your mind can put you in situations to really drive change versus just running a ball down the field. It's just amazing, you know, and like, you know, they, like you said, there's always a test to a testimony. And that's what I always look back at, seeing that in 2.5 years being at HP, being able to sit before a panel such as this today, who would have thought, right? I've only been out of college since 2018, and just being able to share my story, be back with everyone is just truly great. And sorry if I ripped that 1914 blue fly all blue.
Correction on the fraternity, right? Anyone else? Did you ever think you would be at HP?
For me, definitely not, in two ways. So the first, I think, is kind of similar to Kevin. I never really questioned that I was college bound or anything like that, and I got into kind of like a gifted and talented program when I was young. So my parents were always driving kind of like 40 minutes to an hour and a half to get me to go to the right school. And I was the only kid that looked like me in most of my classes. And even though I performed well academically, I still had counselors and teachers who constantly told me that I wasn't really prepared to go to a four-year university or to do anything like that beyond. So I think even though I kind of believed in myself, I didn't see people like me doing it necessarily. So I didn't think I'd end up in a specific place. Also, my major, which I also forgot to mention in my introduction, was petroleum engineering. And so I didn't think that I would end up working at a tech company, much less working in sustainability. But I knew while I was studying and when I was first working that I really wanted to work in the environmental space. And so I was just constantly trying to find ways to make a path into that. And so, yeah, I didn't think it would be here, but that's where it ended up.
We're glad you're here.
For me, Tiffany, I'd say yes, I did imagine myself here. And the reason for that is I used to work prior to HP. I worked for American Express for 15 years, another great company, right? And unfortunately, we had to separate for many reasons, mainly being economic reasons when the downturn of the economy happened and so on. But I actually sought out HP. So I did my research. I looked at the culture. I looked at the type of employees. I looked at, you know, how they represent from a social perspective, sustainability, all of that. And then I actively went out to the postings and said, okay, this is a company I can really support and I want to be a part of. And I looked and looked until I was finally successful in one of my applications to come on board. And the rest, like they say, is history. But I definitely sought out HP based on the fact that, again, they were not necessarily headquartered, but they had a very big presence here in the Houston area as well.
Yeah, I'd have to say something similar. I actually am out of oil and gas, and I thought that I would be in oil and gas for my entire career. But during the energy downturn, which happened around 2016 or so, I found, but even before that, I actually was laid off from the company that I worked for because it had been acquired by another company. And so I did some consulting for a while in between there. But I was looking for a company to work for that I felt aligned with my values, and that I felt that I could make an impact. And there were a couple of companies that I had identified in the Houston area. And one of them happened to be HP because, like Joel said, there is a large presence here in Houston. And it just was on my list. And I hadn't applied for anything yet, but I started to do my due diligence of really trying to learn about the company. And I was a vice chair for a energy conference with a organization called Pink Petro. And we had a speaker come to talk to all of the ladies at the conference, and the speaker happened to be Marie Meyer. And so I got her card, and afterwards we met up. We had a Skype meeting and just talked about. She shared with me who HP was and about HP values, and it confirmed what I thought. So I went onto the site and applied for a job and didn't hear anything for months. And but then one day somebody called me. I forgot I had applied by the time they called. But I did get the call, and am so happy that I joined HP because, like I said, it's a company with strong values. It's a company where everybody is family, and that's where I wanted to be a part.
Thank you. I'm loving the diversity of experiences. I'm loving the diversity of industries that we have represented, but we're all now in tech. Personally, my background, I started off in paper, then I went into automotive, then pharmaceuticals, then CPG. Never thought I would work in tech, but here I am. So I'm excited about that. Along that diversity of your experiences, was there a particular program? It could have been something NSBE related. It could have been something you participated in college that helped you be the success that you are today.
I think, to be truthful, it was a lot of the mentorship and the workshops available, whether it was NSBE through career services or any of those sort of things. Because one of the first things when entering college, as an engineering major, it was not even understanding that some of your lab assignments or even homework could be leveraged as projects on your resume, right? Other parts of it was just kind of understanding, well, how do you present yourself? Oftentimes we hear, oh, if you're not over a 3.0, you're not going to get an internship. So I was really understanding your soft skills and what you can leverage. So I was really grateful that, my chapter at NSBE really put on a lot of conferences, some of the a lot of workshops, and even at the fall regional conferences, just kind of preparing me to leverage that. Not only am I academically sound student, but I'm a student with great leadership qualities that make me such a well-rounded individual that would be a huge benefit to a company. So it's really understanding how to leverage your story for your glory. That's my motto going forward.
Go ahead. Somebody already told you to preach, so go ahead.
Does anyone else want to go after the sermon?
Doors of the church are now open.
I think, like Kevin said, it's really what's been most meaningful to me is mentorship. No matter what program it came through, I've never been shy about asking people who have done it before. Because I think once I started university, I met a lot of people who were kind of in corporate spaces who had done things that I didn't have as much experience with. So being able to understand how they walked the paths that they walked, and that really, really important aspect of soft skills and knowing how to navigate through a big corporate workspace or a small corporate workspace and being able to kind of like network and learn things really quickly is much, I think, as important, maybe a bit more important than that academic skill set that you're leaving university with.
I think that's a good one. I've had lots of different experiences. After hearing Kevin's sermon, I was actually thinking about just even some of the church programs that I've been affiliated with have helped me in I think settling on what is my purpose, and then taking that and making sure that I'm mindful of that in every aspect of my life, including, and of course, very importantly, my career. How do I ensure that I'm exercising that purpose, that I'm making myself available, that I'm doing what I can as being a leader of a team, for instance. I take a lot of lessons around the various leaders in the Bible and how they led and how important that is to apply that even in how I lead my teams, to make sure that I am a good steward of whatever it is that I've been handed. And then also both in the American Association of Blacks in Energy, that was the first organization I had been a part of where I actually saw Black people in positions of importance, in high level positions and positions in the C-suite, where I had never, I was in energy. I was the highest ranking person at the company that I worked for that was African American. And so seeing that and being confident and help them providing mentorship and the confidence to be able to excel was I think a game changer for me.
Awesome. Joe, did you want to share?
I think it's been well said, Tiffany. So I don't want to, reiterate everything that Kevin and Terry and Ngozi already talked through. They did an excellent job with that one.
I could just add one more point. I think just understanding that opportunities just exist anywhere and everywhere. Just leverage any and all opportunities wherever you put yourself in.
You know what I'd like to say about opportunities is a lot of times we might have a plan planned out and think that we want to go this way or that. But I would say about opportunities is to keep your eye out for the things that nobody else wants to do. The hairy, mean, icky kind of projects and problems, because that's a problem that's on somebody's desk that they're trying to figure out. If you can be the one to solve it or to help provide a solution, you have just increased your stock by tenfold. And that's actually how I actually even got into ethics and compliance, because I'm actually out of HR. Nobody wanted the position, and so I ended up with it. I ended up holding the rotten egg. But I'd have to tell you that it was quite it was quite an experience and quite an opportunity, because most of the time ethics and compliance is run by lawyers. And they don't necessarily know how to connect with employees. They don't necessarily, they know the rules, they know the law, but a lot of times they talk to employees in legalese. So I was able to come in and bridge that gap. And so I would say that that's probably one of the best pieces of advice I ever got, was look for the hardest problem and then try to find a way to solve it.
Awesome, awesome. And so on our journey, we meet and we have encounters with the next generation. In what ways are you all giving back to the next generation? Are you mentoring? Are you coaching? Are you teaching? What does that look like? And I know a lot of these young people, or whoever the people are on our panel or participating in our workshop today, they may want to connect with you. So maybe drop an organization that you're a part of, or how can people learn from you further?
Start there, Tiffany, if you don't mind. So for me, it's everything that you just mentioned, right? It's the coaching, it's the mentorship, it's the sponsorship, it's the giving of my time to make sure that I educate and teach the next generation. It's bringing them up. It's giving them those opportunities that maybe another leader would not have given them, recognizing that, if I don't do this, nobody else will. Right? I see something in the next generation that nobody else sees, because sometimes they're looking for, like Kevin was mentioning earlier, that 3.0, right, grade average, in order to kind of move you into an internship position or even give you an opportunity. Sometimes it's not about that. It's about the will. It's about the desire. It's that energy. It's that, do you have the gumption, if you will, to want to just go out there and make a difference, right? And so I kind of help people see that within themselves through the mentorship and sponsorship. And just for those of you who know, there is definitely a difference between mentoring somebody and sponsoring somebody, right? So you definitely want to have both in your life, and you want to have a coach as well, right? So somebody who's just going to really tell you like it is, help you get to where you need to be. And to me, I think that's how I see giving back. And I do that with my team. I do that with other members across the organization. I do that, and you were mentioning, maybe speak on some of the other organizations that you're part of. And right now I've gone through a class with the ITSMF, and I know they were also part of NSBE in terms of, I think they had a participation yesterday or the decade, I'm not sure, but ITSMF is another wonderful organization that's highlighting senior executives of the Black community, right? And so it's a great organization. If you haven't heard about them, definitely look them up as well. So that's what I do for myself, Tiffany.
I think similarly, I try to give my time in coaching and mentoring anyone who approaches me and is interested in it. I feel like I'm in a little bit of a unique position because I am both kind of a person who can mentor about people that for people that are early on in their careers, but I also seek a lot of mentorship myself because I am still kind of early to mid-career in my own life. And so what I really try to do is make sure that I stay connected to my greater community, both internal to HP and then like where I'm living. So Tiffany, I asked you to be part of a panel that I held recently for Women in Science Portland. So I try to stay connected to those people so that at least I can make connections. So people that I know that are coming up, even if I'm not the best mentor for them, now I know 4 other people that could be really great that I can connect them to or anything like that. So that's really kind of where I try to help and to just serve as an example of this is possible and you can really do whatever it is that you want to do.
I also do some work, basically just I have several people that I'm connected with. One of them is here in Houston, there's a high school, Booker T. Washington High School. It's partially magnet school, and the other part is just a regular school, but it's an engineering school. And so I've done a lot of work with them in helping the students there to realize the importance of STEM education and helping them in just their careers and even some of some personal things. And through that, I've actually made connections and connected them with schools in Zimbabwe, Africa. So we've done an exchange program between the students in a school called Writing School in Africa and Booker T. Washington. The students from Zimbabwe came here to Houston, and the students at Booker T taught them how to build wind turbines and water filtration systems. Actually, they started the project and then they worked through Skype and other means to actually continue to build out the project. Unfortunately, the Houston students didn't get to go to Zimbabwe because some political issues arose and it wasn't safe for them to go there. But I'm hoping that at some point they will also be able to participate in an exchange. So that's I do a lot of different things, but that's one of my main pet projects around STEM education and getting young people involved.
Awesome. Kevin, did you want to jump in?
They said it all. Honestly, just the time, the effort, and just the practice is all that you can provide, right? And just, once again, just as someone opens the door for you, you open the door for the next person moving on up. I think, just one of my highlights is just challenging your comfort. A lot of people would say, why you moved to Boise, Idaho, leaving the beach in San Diego and the great weather and whatnot. But like Terry said, there's a lot of opportunities that will get, passed on because people aren't really comfortable. And sometimes I think your greatest growth is in the most uncomfortable of situations. And for me, it was kind of a political move where I saw that, oh, Boise, Idaho, are there many people who look like me in that area? If not, why not go and be that person that can create the new identity? And luckily there were people there that, kind of mentored me, guided me. And then, like I mentioned, just only been here for 2.5 years and I've hit the ground running, and I'm just happy with the growth that we're doing here in Boise at the other HP sites, and hopefully, seeing the future here in this panel today, or the list of panelists, attendees,
Awesome, awesome. So another question I wanted to kind of get from each of you: DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think those are 3 words we probably have heard more in the past year and a half than we ever thought we would, to be honest. And it's something that some companies may have just started doing. HP, as you know, we are the birthplace of Silicon Valley, basically the birthplace of tech. Look it up if you don't know. But how many other tech companies were birthed and their founders got their first start at HP, or Hewlett Packard as it was originally known? With that information, what does DEI mean for you at HP? And is it something that we really do as a company?
Oh, can I talk about this? Because it's those that talk about it, but then those that be about it. And I mean, for me, diversity, equity, inclusion isn't just a stat line. It isn't just how many of this ethnic group works here at this company, right? It's really putting action to your words. And quite truthfully, I'm excited by some of the initiatives HP is doing, whether it's our partnership with NSBE, SHIP, SWE, whether it's what we're doing with our HBCU business challenge. And keep in mind, this isn't scripted. This is just literally what we do. I could provide y'all links after links, but just even our racial social equality task force team and how we're driving some of the recent injustices we're seeing in our nation and around the world. Because when we look at it ourselves from a global perspective, it's often referred to, silence equates to, being compliant. And I love that not only our senior leadership, but just all of our employees, we put boots to the ground, whether we're at the protest, whether we're creating narratives to speak out against these injustice. It's really just amazing that, as Terry shared earlier, someone who aligns with your morals and ethics, and you see the culture that is, encompasses of all its employees where we align, understand there's a bigger picture. Not only are we looking to drive technology and innovation, but we're looking to change the way that we live, and how does that image or perception look like?
Yeah, I'd have to say that I have been floored by HP's responsiveness to, first of all, their that model, the tagline of bringing your whole self to work. I'm butchering it. That's not actually it, but I actually felt that in coming to this company, particularly coming out of oil and gas, where, like I told you, I was the highest ranking African-American and only African-American at that level and position at my company. And there were, just very few of us sprinkled throughout all of the various oil and gas companies. So coming to HP and seeing where they actually put their money where their mouth is, they actually do what they say they are going to do. It's not just lip service. It's not just saying the convenient thing at the most convenient or less convenient time. And that was especially magnified during and after the death of George Floyd. I have to say that I have never seen a company actually roll up their sleeves, and our CEO began the discussion. He didn't just wait for any of us to go and say, hey, what are you going to do? He began the discussion, and then we had lots of very difficult, candid discussions. I'll say courageous discussions here at HP. And now we're at the point of action. And so we've got a task force that has been put together with pillars that are actually supporting it. I've talked to many a company, and a lot of them didn't know what to do at that time. But what HP did was not only just talk about it, and not only just go out and look out, but they first looked inward and said, what do we need to do? What do we need to change? Where is systemic racism actually happening here at HP, and how can we root it out?
We're still working on it.
And we're still working on it. We're not perfect, and we haven't arrived, but just the fact that we are making progress and that we are trying to do something. I can tell you that I have worked in many a company that would not be the case. And there's even been many companies even now that all they did was throw money at the problem, but they didn't do anything to change the systems within their companies, or even really to change anything in society either. Their money's going to have a short-lived value without any purpose behind it.
And I think
Definitely.
Go ahead, Joel.
No, please.
I just wanted to add that I think that that culture of wanting to make change is really pervasive throughout the entire company. So not just has our kind of executive C-suite been making statements, but we have this racial equality task force, and the energy that I've seen of just the employees that are involved in a lot of those pillars. I'm in one of those pillars, that they've wanted to really participate, and they've had the forum to, and they've dedicated a lot of their time to trying to make that task force as successful as possible. And then I've participated in a lot of other things as well, like reverse mentoring, and there's just a lot of infrastructure for letting employees participate in trying to help push forward that progress. So I think it's really been amazing.
Agree with everything everybody has said, right? So not only are we throwing money at it, but we're also putting the action behind it, right? Which is very important. And I think Ngozi mentioned the point that, every single one of the CEO's direct reports have made a pledge, and not only made the pledge publicly to the rest of the company, but they're standing behind it. They're providing us with updates on a regular basis on how they're going about it. What's the progress to some of those pledges? So it's definitely not something that's going to just stop right now, or after, the protest that we had last summer or anything like that. Right now, with the recent violence against the Asian community, again, we're out there in the forefront, right? Our CEO has posted, our HR person has posted, so we're seeing it. And it's not just for the African Americans or one particular, dynamic of diversity or anything like that. It goes across everything, right? So whether it's, racial, whether it's sexual orientation, whatever it is, we stand behind that. And I think that is, again, to the values and why I wanted to be part of the company. Those speak for themselves, right now, in terms of, some of the demonstrated results of that. So I definitely think DE&I is not just a tag craze at all. It's definitely something that we're about.
Awesome. Thank you all for it. This has been fun. We should do this more often. And no, I did not give them the questions, y'all, in advance. It was like,
no, she would not.
But we see several questions that you guys are providing in the Q&A section. And I know that Kevin and Ngozi and folks are answering some of them. But there's one that I wanted to highlight that we could just answer together. Someone asked, from college to now, how would you say your major has been important to your career? Advice for those that want to switch fields or focus after graduation. I can start that one.
So just typed an answer too.
Yeah, I started, I'm currently in HR. I always say I will never work in human resources. But a few years ago, my background is mechanical engineering. I always worked in manufacturing, or in packaging engineering, manufacturing engineering, or product development. And it was a great journey, but I just realized that in order for certain things and systems to change, I had to become a part of those communities. So if I disliked things that I saw in HR across multiple industries and it was consistent, I said, okay, Tiffany, you can either stand back and complain about it, or you can get involved and get engaged in the work. So I did not allow my degree to hinder me from applying and accepting a role in HR. And I think everybody has HR experience. You went through the interview process, you got hired, you're doing professional development when you get there, you're supporting recruiting and attraction by attending events like this. So just because you don't have a degree, I would say never limit yourself in saying you're not qualified for the opportunity that's available.
And I would even further say with that is that your emotional intelligence quotient, the soft skills, are just as important as whatever degree. In fact, they're probably, after you've gotten your degree and you've gotten your level of expertise, those soft skills are probably what are actually going to get you to wherever it is that you want to go. You've got that technical expertise and background, and I had business, so I could go and do anything. I did have a concentration in HR, and I liked working in HR. But I would say that at any point and at every point, look at what you need to do to increase your leadership skills. How can you hone those? And no matter whether you're leading teams or not, look for opportunities that you can be a leader, whether it be with a team or with an organization within your company, or like I told you, with an organization within your church or anywhere. But look for opportunities to lead, especially like maybe outside of your workplace, because you can gain some lessons and fail lightly and not have it be as visible as maybe a failure that you might be more afraid of on your job. So I would say that that's probably one of the most important things to remember after you get your degree, or even if you're tossed between what you should do as far as a degree, at least continuing to hone your soft skills.
I think also while you're studying and after you're studying, you should really be focusing on finding ways to be multidisciplinary. Because as the workplace changes and jobs change, really the people that will be successful are the people that can take a more comprehensive view and find those connections between different types of work that people are doing. So even if you don't change your major, if you can find ways to take other types of classes, to interact with people that are studying other things, to really build those soft skills and find connections between different types of learning, I think that'll serve you even more.
Yeah, like quite truthfully, I came out of college thinking I was going to work on power lines, construction, and those sort of things. So once I got to HP, it really opened my mind that just, your degree gives you the foundational elements to understand a product, a solution, or just a process. And then once you get into that specific role where you kind of go a step further and expand your level of thinking, create that innovative mindset, and really figure out new approaches to the problem. And that's really what we strive to be as anyone in engineering or anyone in any role of that matter, finding the next way of resolving an issue. And so sometimes when we think, hey, does our major have a significant impact? Yeah, it gets you into the door, but once you're in that door, what do you leverage with the opportunities that are present before you? Because you'll find even some people who start off technically and then they'll go in a completely different pathway. That's kind of what I'm at right now, where, hey, I'm an engineering program manager and I want to continue the program manager side because I like being able to hear from the customer, work with the R&D team, and really drive the new product.
Agreed with everything again. You guys are awesome, right? So it's all a matter of continuous learning is really to summarize it. Don't stop with whatever you're taking in school with the classes that you have there. Don't feel that you have to be pigeonholed into anything from a professional perspective. The world is out there, right? So you can start with one focus and then end up making a complete U-turn to something different and still have value, right? And still enjoy your job. So just continuously learn and see what's available to you guys.
Certificates, do those.
I was just going to say that. Yeah,
definitely. That's
exactly.
a perfect way for continuous learning. And again, HP is great at that. They have lots of different learning forums and platforms internally, and they have no problem with sending you to different classes outside of the company as well, if you need to do that as well. So again, just another plug for HP.
having a fabulous panel. I just tell you, y'all have been awesome. So we appreciate each of you sharing. We appreciate the questions and the excitement and energy in the chat. Like I said before, please come and meet other members of our HP Diversity family at the booth on tomorrow and Friday. We look forward to having additional conversations with each of you. And just one final question as we wrap up for each of the panelists. What is one song that keeps you going along your journey? So a song that you listen to that keeps you going. I'll say mine first while y'all thinking. Mine is The Golden Time of Day by Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. So that's mine.
See, I'm just gonna pay homage, but to the great Nipsey Hussle, the last time that I checked. So that's mine.
Lord, this is
That's a
hard.
tough one for me. I have so many that I go through in my mind,
do too.
but I don't really have one that just kind of just like I need to have that going to get energized or anything like that. I just everything.
Just one. Just say one.
Lately, I've been listening to Location by Burna Boy and Dave. That gets me in the mood to work, I guess.
I'm gonna go with an artist, and then I'm gonna kind of go a little old school with you guys. But Janet Jackson, she always gets me moving. You know, I just love her music. So that's my go-to all the time.
You know, I don't know if I have a go-to, but you know, I listen to a lot of gospel music. And this weekend, the Clark sisters was on, and I had even forgotten all the different songs that they have. So I'm just going to say the Clark sisters and the various songs that they did that I just love.
Awesome. And how many of y'all watched their verses on Sunday? I know I did. That was a good verses, but yes.
I'm looking that up though. I'm gonna watch the next series.
Two of my favorite groups, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the Eyes.
I can't believe I missed that because I love Earth, Wind, and Fire in the day.
Yes. So you all have been fabulous. We thank you. We thank you so much for attending our webinar today. That we know there were others that you could have participated in, but you chose to join us. So we'll be sure to send each of you the link to the recording, and you can share it with your friends and family members that were unable to make it. And we look forward to meeting you at the HP booth. Have a great time at the NSBE convention. See y'all later.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.